Good singlet.
Yeah.
Esther Harrop is an Army lieutenant who served on Bougainville. She's been sent back on a short fact-finding mission to check we're sending the right type of officers for the job.
Morning now.
So the South Lebanese Army is basically in this area here.
Paul Bailey is an Auckland businessman who also happens to be a major in the territorial force. He's been posted to the Middle East.
I'm here as the Chief Technical Advisor.
Col John Armstrong is a career officer working in Mozambique.
Senor. There.
These three New Zealanders provide a taste of the depth and range of peacekeeping activities our soldiers already undertake in 15 different countries.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
This program looks at how our soldiers have been prepared for their current mission in East Timor by their experiences in other parts of the world. Over the years, our peacekeepers have served in a remarkable number of hotspots around the globe, most of them half a world away. The Army is used as an instrument of government policy, allowing this country to play its part in international affairs. For a country facing virtually no risk of attack, New Zealand soldiers have always seen their action overseas, and increasingly that action has been keeping the peace.
I joined the territorials from university. Really enjoyed it. Didn't want to work in an office for the rest of my life, although that's what I'm doing now. And so went to Officer Cadet School for a year in Moyo and just went on from there.
Paul's wife Laura will accompany him to the Middle East.
What stage are you up to? What's that?
It's a UN for the curve.
No, this one.
Oh, that's a helmet.
No, I've never seen one with the hemp on it.
Yeah, no, that's not actually going, that one.
Will they question you about this stuff at customs?
Yeah, that's a good point. Excuse me, sir. What's that in your bag? I don't know. That'll be... I suppose they're used to having all these things, people coming through all this time.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself as having a role in the peacekeeping process?
I think ultimately my experience there and what I bring back to New Zealand will be of benefit, because it won't just be about military exercises, but about how people live in that part of the world.
Yeah, three chords, right? D.
Esther has a musical tradition to uphold. Brother Joe plays in the symphony orchestra. The family's military tradition is less strong.
Oh, it starts on one. Yeah?
Oh, sorry.
My grandfather, Andy Cromfeld, he was a pilot and he flew a Guadalcanal.
You're too bad.
Presumably he would have flown over Bougainville a few times.
Yeah, probably, yep. Haven't really thought of that before, but yeah, probably.
That is shocking.
That's terrible.
On many of the posts, peacekeepers spend hours behind the wheels of a range of vehicles. The business car will stay in Auckland, while Paul gets a refresher course on four-wheel drive wagons. Pre-deployment training is important for soldiers posted overseas. The amount of training varies depending on the type of mission. These men are all heading to different parts of the world, and the training today is generic.
So if you happen to be the unlucky person who got the vehicle with no jacks, a bit of wood is all you need to do the same job. I'll show it to you like this. We just put it underneath the front axle under the tyre we need, drive the vehicle forward until it comes up and stands on the vehicle.
Back off. This pre-deployment training, so far the program's been very good, it's been very structured. We've had a couple of opportunities to speak to people that have been deployed.
Feel the revs line up and the gears all line.
This exercise, changing gears without a clutch.
If you find it doesn't go into a gear, attempt to go back to the one you were previously in.
Things just we need to start to think about, take care of ourselves. Starting to get into the things of a mine awareness, which we're going to do this afternoon.
Fragmentation mine, okay. This type is usually put on stakes
Okay, works off trip wires, usually. Okay, and this explodes pretty much like a grenade. Fragmentation. Basically, once it's dropped, it's armed. Okay. Is it? Yeah, once it's dropped, it's armed.
Designed to probably take a leg off.
Just a leg, just a main.
Yeah.
Also, you don't get a kill.
That's half the idea.
This bizarre spectacle does have a purpose. Paul Bailey and other soldiers posted to the volatile Middle East are trained how to use nuclear, biological and chemical protective clothing. To simulate what it'll be like to wear the kit in the heat of the desert, this game of touch is designed to build up a sweat. It won't be everyday dress, but the peacekeepers need to be prepared if a war zone turns dirty. The conditioning is completed by a jog up to the gas chamber, a tent filled with tear gas where masks will be removed briefly to give soldiers a taste of what the kit keeps out.
Major, Captain.
You feel as if you've inhaled all that smoke. Pretty unpleasant, really.
No one needs telling twice to make sure there's a good seal on the mask. Landmines are a constant threat in most countries our soldiers serve.
Where'd you get to behind you?
New Zealand has been at the forefront internationally in developing demining programs. For most of these soldiers, knowing how to get out of a minefield safely is second nature.
Just with the prodding itself, I know it was only practice, and some of you guys will hardly even get in the tip in. Right? I know it's hard ground, but practice as you do it in the real thing.
We gained our credentials in Afghanistan and Cambodia. John Armstrong cut his teeth on the killing fields, teaching thousands of Cambodians how to clear mines so more innocent civilians wouldn't be killed by the legacy of war. Kiwis literally wrote the book on how to do it.
So I'm going to tell you some areas where there might be mines.
And they helped build public awareness.
So you can stay away from those areas.
John Armstrong's even been known to do the odd spot of language training.
Kia ora. Otpanyaha. Kapai. Kapai.
These days you'll find John deep in the African jungle, advising Mozambicans on their accelerated demining program. Although the civil war ended here 7 years ago, the mines laid by both sides are still in the ground, barring the way to many key commodities like water.
One thing that was learnt very early on in Mozambique is that the demining effort must be thoroughly coordinated with the wider development effort. There's no point in clearing mines if they're not going to increase the economic activity, the development activity, provide opportunities for the population. We know that resources for demining are not going to be forthcoming forever, and it's extremely important that while they are, that we make the most impact, we call it, the most developmental impact that we can with the resources available and the time available.
The sound of those metal pieces that we found in that line is exactly the same sound from where we're getting the mine. How many mines that we found here in this minefield?
Yeah, in this area so far we found 15 mines.
We found 15 mines, but we found already 690,000 metal pieces. 690,000 times. We must make exactly the same procedures, because what we're getting is a sound, and we're looking, as you had the opportunity to see it, we're prodding and we're excavating to see from where comes this metal sound. Okay, as you see, is again a small piece of metal, as you can see it.
I'm there to assist the director make the right decisions and to provide a bit of technical knowledge that he may lack and assist him in making the decisions. The other side of the coin is that the donors, the funders, like to have an independent person, if you like, sitting alongside the Mozambican nationals to make sure that everything is done in a truly accountable and transparent way, which of course it is done.
We don't want to clear mines because there is mines. We want to clear mines to achieve something for these people, that they are the ones that are suffering from the mine problem. And secondly, we want to give a value to the donor money.
Temos 130 menos stand. É igual.
We clear 200 mines around this village. What you want me to clear? 200 mines? That gives what you're seeing now. The village is booming again. You know, these kids, they have a life again. They can smile. They can come back here. They can play soccer. It's 16,000 persons back here. Families. Or you want me to clear 45,000 mines that I'm not going to achieve anything?
Sniffer dogs are one of the tools used in the war against mines, but they're not an ultimate weapon. There are no easy solutions.
They're very, very confident in what they're doing in the minefield. But we don't use them just for demining. We use them for area reduction and for survey. For example, we have an area which is very large, and the people doesn't know exactly where the boundaries of that minefield are. So we use the dogs to reduce the area until we get where the proper minefield is.
And it's still here.
This minefield was bulldozed.
This is what the machines they do. Yeah. If they don't destroy, they cause a bigger problem than
it was before.
When we think that we know everything, is when we find out that we don't know everything. When everything runs smooth, it's easy to say, I can do the job. But when I have a little problem, I start with, where is my advisor? And this is where we need advisors forever. Demining is a new thing for us.
Blijven. Blijven.
We need the know-how because they come from a first world country. We need their experience. We need their information. And I want to take the decision. We the nationals want to take the decisions. But with the input from the advisors, our decision is going to be a better decision every day.
To clear every last mine in Mozambique would take 100 years at the present rate. 8 to 10 years should get most of the significant fields. Mines blown up carefully, one by one. Just visiting Mozambique is one of the world's leading exponents on demining, Kiwi soldier Fred Esther. He's browsing the market in Maputo on a world tour teaching Americans about mine clearance. New Zealand's Mr. Mines is based in the States these days. His position as instructor at the US Army Engineer School is an illustration of the esteem Kiwis are held in when it comes to dealing with landmines.
The type of mines that they're finding at the moment are simple wooden mines. It's called a PMB6. Very simple. They can make these at home if they really want to. And that is a pressure mine, 80 personnel. And the other sort of mine that they're finding is this one here, which is which is quite a wheel, and this is a PMN. This is once again an 80 personnel. It is a ring minefield which goes around the outside of the village, and you can see where they've indicated here in green is where they've cleared, and the red parts here are showing where their future intentions are in that area there. We certainly are good at it, and I think it's because we're prepared to be flexible, join in with the locals, and really try to pass our knowledge on to them. And I think that seems to be where we're good, and we just love, I think, talking to people.
Talking to people scarred by war. The experience over there can have a profound effect on peacekeepers working way outside their comfort zones.
Difficult and different because Africa, back home you can take getting water and power and running water for granted, you know, sewage systems, and here in Africa you can't. Just getting water is a big mission, especially out in the field. Having a wash and clean water, getting clean drinking water. And when we go out in the field, you know, if we run a course down the training facility, it's about 2 or 3 weeks long. There's probably up to 4 people go down malaria each time. So it's difficult in many ways, health-wise, just doing your day-to-day basic needs is pretty difficult.
The work, though, makes a huge difference to the locals. The track to this water supply was mined, forcing villagers to make a 15-kilometre detour to get water safely. Now it's just a short stroll again with the mines gone. This is what John Armstrong means by impact, clearing mines to make a difference. Esther Harrop is a day out from New Zealand on her way back to Bougainville. No special training needed for this assignment, just a regular army jog to maintain fitness. Okay, Esther, this is Port Moresby. You're halfway to Bougainville now. How are you feeling about your mission?
I'm pretty excited actually. Really looking forward to getting back there. It's nice to be back in some warm climate. Yep, I'm just looking forward to getting there. Actually, I want to get there and get on with it.
What made Esther Harrop an army lieutenant?
Well, I guess it was the whole outdoors thing. I was quite into the outdoors and the fitness side of things. Also, I wanted to do something that was a bit of a challenge. And I mean, look at this. What other jobs do you get to go to places like this for fun? So you get paid while you're doing it. So, yep, all the travel, all the interest and excitement, that's the sort of thing I'm into. The women in Bougainville actually have quite a lot of power. It's a matriarchal society. All the land is owned and handed down through the female line.
2 days out of Wellington and Esther Harrop is back on Bougainville, an emotional reunion with old friends.
They do have a lot of influence. While all the chiefs, or the majority of the chiefs are men, their wives or their meres have a lot of influence over them and what happens. There are quite a few big women's movements in Bougainville too that we had quite a lot of influence over through these women and our contacts with women out in the community. Any more arguments?
Yeah, quite a tough one.
Quite a couple.
Morning now. Name belong me John.
We have for forever been associated with the Pacific Islands, and we have created or developed a very good sense of knowledge on the Pacific Island people. That becomes very important in the conduct of our jobs, especially when we are engaging with the Bougainvillean people.
New Zealand really stands out. It's really blended itself with the people of the Pacific, you know. And I think it also goes back to even in New Zealand government, you know, their relationship with the indigenous people of New Zealand, the Maoris. You know, I mean, even going back to the Treaty of Waitangi. I mean, New Zealanders, you probably have, you know, your arguments back and forth, but to have a treaty with indigenous people, that in itself is a tremendous, you know. You see it with Australia. There's no treaty with the Aborigines of Australia, with the government, even, you know, from time before. There's nothing. So I think New Zealanders have been able to, you know, facilitate this peace process right in the beginning because New Zealanders have the heart, and I think their approach to handling an issue like, in this case, the Pacific issue, and it's affecting people of the Pacific, that they have handled it in a right way. You know, they said, okay, let Bougainvilleans, you know, let us give them a room instead of sort of dictating what we Bougainvilleans can sort of do. You know, that has been an excellent kickstart for the whole peace process.
Okay, just a bit of a brief before you depart.
Are you finding that the Kiwis that are coming up have got the right sort of skills and the right sort of attitudes and experiences to put into the peace process and do the jobs that you...
I think so. I think our training allows them to function in the environment. A lot of what we do here is all about rapport. It's about the way we go out and meet the people. It's their piece, it's not ours. All we're doing is facilitate.
Oh, Esther, my friend is back. Back again, huh?
3030, this is 3232, over.
Oh, well, you know why? Because you flew. You So it's more practicing your personality and interpersonal relation skills, rather than how fast you can chomp through the bush.
It's the military skills are important, but being able to get along with people and to actually achieve something and work with the locals to advance the process is by far the most important thing.
The soldiers and officers are trained as soldiers and officers, and the skill sets they develop during that training is what's required up here, plus a little bit more on the interpersonal relationship side and the cultural side, and that seems to be going quite well.
Implementing another government aid project, Army engineers are rebuilding a school.
Okay, so this is week 4. How long till it's all over?
Yes, we're looking at another about 2.5 weeks.
The Kiwis have a policy of involving the locals in the work, providing training as well as finished buildings. Fighters from both sides of the Civil War are included.
So you would have had to make sure that when you're employing them that like you had some ex-BRA guys and some ex-resistance guys, so
yes.
there was no...
Yes, so it's 4 of each. We don't know who's who and we're not too bothered.
Yeah, cool.
Volleyball is the favourite sport on Bougainville, and the soldiers team up with villagers rather than playing against them. All good to build rapport. Jerusalem is the hub of peacekeeping operations for the Middle East. Paul Bailey has taken on a tour of the Old City, possibly the world's most fought-over patch of real estate. The day he visited, there were 3 racially motivated stabbings right here, 1 fatal.
It's a fascinating place.
Paul has only just received the final details of his assignment. Until today, he didn't even know which country he'd be working in. He's heading now to the headquarters of UNTSO, the UN's Truce Supervision Organisation, to check in and take his place among the 21 other nationalities working the region. UNTSO peacekeepers are all officers.
I consider the New Zealanders as one of the best, for sure. They are professional, experienced among the other UN missions also, and the only major problem is the strange language they speak.
Morning, sirs, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Major Paul Bailey from the New Zealand Army Infantry. My previous UN experience includes 2 years in Zambia working for UNDP. My wife will be joining me on the 1st of April, which will give me sufficient time to build up my allowances. I'm posted to OGG Damascus. Sir, thank you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Paul Bailey.
Fred Edwards, welcome.
How are you, Fred?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
Okay, so I'll be doing your ID this morning.
B-A-Y-L-Y.
L-Y?
Yep. Christian name, Paul.
Relax and look at this camera.
Look at the camera, okay.
Mr. Bailey, could you look up at the camera, please? Thank you. Could you take your chin a bit there? Okay, hold that. Perfect. Put your signature on this pad, please. In line with the arrow.
In the Sinai, Kiwi drivers are responsible for trucking water to the observation posts, or OP sites. It's one of a number of duties New Zealand soldiers perform as part of the MFO, Multinational Force and Observers, set up to monitor a peace treaty between Israel and Egypt, signed in 1979. 25 New Zealanders work in the buffer zone between the Egyptians and Israelis.
Well, I'm part of the New Zealand driving team. And basically we do water runs, runs into Ashdod. It's mostly supply, picking up supplies and resupplying water to all the OP sites.
In the waterless desert, the Kiwi trucks are a welcome sight at the OPs, where observers spend weeks at a time just watching. MFO is a peacekeeping success story. There have been no major incidents in the force's 20-year history.
Well, it's definitely an experience. Like no place I've ever been before, really. It's good to be, to feel like New Zealand's doing their little part in world matters, I suppose.
And how does that feel, sort of being part of a multinational peacekeeping effort?
Well, it's got to make you proud.
Once you set a spot, we'll lower the bonnet and then we'll do our pre-driving checks.
The New Zealand contingent of the MFO is also responsible for all driver training and testing. Ironic in a way, as we drive on the other side of the road back home.
Just want you to practice and display some of the skills that you've been told about in the classroom itself. Any questions?
Basically, a peacekeeping operation that needs to have credibility and respect has to have basic military skills. They have to understand how to behave and how to operate as a soldier. People and the type of people that is understanding how important it is to behave in this way in the Middle East.
Our standard of driving, no matter what they say at home, is actually very good, particularly our military driving. And this is now shown across the force with the work that our drivers, instructors do. There's also, of course, the other drivers we have here, which are working with the US support back, who provide one key element of that particular driving organisation. And our drivers hold their own there as well. Our guys during their 6-month tour can do between 30,000 and 60,000 kilometres accident-free, which few can match.
New Zealand has had a long involvement with the multinational force of observers. One of our generals, Don McIver, commanded the entire operation for 2 years in the 80s. Among his achievements, introduction of the force skills competition.
Well, while we're here in the Sinai, the soldiers still need to maintain their soldier skills first. So shooting is a part of that.
And of course this is tied up with the force skills competition, of course.
That's right, we've got a team of 3 officers.
And you've got a bit of a tradition to uphold in the results on this, haven't we?
With the officers team, yeah, we're an over 30s team. Last year they did very, very well. Well, for the last contingent, they did very well. So we're training hard.
For a time, New Zealand helicopters provided some of the aerial transport in the Sinai. Now American machines carry Kiwi soldiers fluent in Fijian to check how well prepared the Fijian soldiers are. This is a snap inspection of an observation post, another New Zealand responsibility. Soldiers on OP can expect a snap anytime, just part of keeping the work up to scratch. A written test is all part of the procedure.
Okay, queremos do test paper.
Flying is the simplest way to get from A to B in the Sinai, but there aren't enough choppers for everyone. Travel is a constant headache for MFO peacekeepers. Old landmines can drift huge distances in moving sand dunes and wind up on the road. There's a policy of not doing any road maintenance in case the locals give up on it entirely. The Force engineers do have plenty of other projects to keep them busy.
What I'm looking at is the tanks and that we've got a big problem over time. Diesel has been spilling on the ground and causing a big mess. What I'm looking at is just basically doing a containment area and a pad so that when the guys fill up the vehicles, if they spill any, it's all going to be contained.
It's sort of a bit of a new spin on peacekeeping, winding up in the desert doing environmental cleanup.
Yeah, it is actually, but there's been quite a few remote sites over the years that have been pulled out, and our policy and the Force engineers is that if we can clean it up now, if ever we do remove this site, we're going to have a lot less hassle when we get round to it. 800 King, move on to the next one.
Many of the MFO peacekeepers have no contact with Israeli or Egyptian soldiers. Their time is spent in no man's land between the two forces. An exception is the LOs or liaison officers, who are responsible for keeping open channels of communication. Tony Robinson deals with the Egyptian army near the Israeli border.
Nice to meet you. Where you been? I haven't seen you for a long time.
I've been duty liaison at camp for the last week or so. 2 weeks. We married culture group. So they're practicing for that. Hopefully there won't be any problems up in the northern Israel.
We come to support you.
Yeah, why not?
Kiwi.
Yeah, why not? But yeah, pretty busy.
New Zealand Army itself, we actually have a marae, and we actually got presented a stone before we came over. When we actually return, we're taking the stone back, and it's going to get laid out in front of the marae in Waru, and basically the stone's travelled all around the world with us at the moment. So on that sense, you know, it's like a part of us, and it's basically what they've kind of said is like a protection for us as well. So like we, you know, in our sense, we feel that we're quite protected on that side of things.
Black, white, green, it doesn't really matter. In the army you're a team, and Māori, Pākehā, Malaysian, Singaporean, it doesn't matter. I think the army builds teams, and a Māori in the army is just part of a team.
I guess in many ways it's sort of one of the New Zealand success stories of racial integration and harmony. Would that be true from where you stand? You know, that in society at large there's perhaps more of a them and us, but there is still a bit of a divide between Māori and Pākehā. That doesn't exist in the army. Is that how you'd see it or not?
It can't exist in the army, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you can't have a race difference in the army, especially in a place like where we are now. I mean, you need to trust the people that you come across with. And if New Zealanders could do that at home, it'd be brilliant. You'd have one of the best families in the world, I'd say. But that's a different story. I mean, you know these things when you come across the places like this.
These are armour-piercing tank rounds being loaded by New Zealand soldiers attached to the British Army on peacekeeping duty in Bosnia with NATO. The Bosnia deployment is much more hard-edged, where NATO uses an unambiguous show of force to keep the former warring Yugoslav factions apart. New Zealanders who no longer have tanks of their own get to drive the main British battle tank Challenger.
Generally it's very good. They're very keen to see people from New Zealand and Australia here. A lot of them confuse us with Australians, as do the British who we're working with. But no, they're very pleased to see Kiwis, and a lot of them are aware of where New Zealand is in the world as well, which was a surprise to us.
Brilliant, absolutely superb, really, really good bunch of people. And it's so easy as well, in fact, that the New Zealand Army and the British Army are very, very similar, so culturally we understand each other very well, and of course therefore, you know, orders and all the other things which come through the army easily slot into place.
Unload. Kiwi NCOs carry out weapons inspections.
And clear, East Springs.
Good drills.
On all peacekeeping missions, Kiwi soldiers work with other armies.
Britain can't operate independently, we don't have the resources or the capabilities, and therefore we need the ability to merge, to amalgamate, and to operate with foreign nations. And so anything like the New Zealand forces attached to the British Army is very good news for that.
Because I guess it would seem like just a tiny drop in the ocean what we've contributed here, but it has actually been of significant help to you.
Very significant help. Without them, we would have been very stretched with our own manpower to provide a proper Queen's Royal Lancer battle group picture here. And the guys themselves have mixed in very quickly with us, and you know, we consider them as regimental soldiers, and I hope they consider us as theirs.
How'd you get on with the locals?
Yeah, they're actually quite friendly to us sometimes. Obviously when the NATO side of it come in and do a bit of bombing, they get a bit pissed off, but hey, you know, that's life. We get used to that.
Wars by their very nature are destructive, and part of the peace process is helping put the pieces back together again. Much of Bosnia's infrastructure was destroyed in the bitter civil war. This is Sarajevo, and it is struggling back to normality after surviving modern history's longest siege. But like many places our soldiers serve, it will take a huge effort and a massive injection of money to rebuild what was there before. NATO is helping, channeling millions of dollars into reconstruction, like this work on the Banja Luka hospital. The cheques are signed by a Kiwi officer.
Identified by Q Harrison, and it was to refurbish the interior of the hospital. It was $185,000 for the whole project done.
I have never had $4 million, which I have spent in the last 4 months to spend before, which was in my checkbook back at home.
They do have salads on, but everything else, if it can't be cooked in fat, it can't be cooked. We've actually had deep fried and battered cauliflower, which I couldn't quite understand myself. So getting used to their fat diet's pretty, it's pretty bad. But apart from, you know, they put salads on and that as well, so you can have a decent feed.
New Zealand had 3 major deployments to Bosnia when the United Nations headed peacekeeping efforts. The original Kiwis are fondly remembered at their old camp, which has now reverted back to its old function as a sawmill. Not the sort of sawmill that Osh would approve, mind you.
They were trying to make people closer, to have a cooperation through sports, kind of competitions, etc.
Ask her how effective that was, how successful they were in that.
They did a good success, it was positive, so they found a solution about using of football field.
Alrighty, so we'll take these guys now and we'll go to Marwahan.
Marwahan? Okay, what time tomorrow?
I'll let you know. I'll tell you.
Okay, you see the New Zealand English.
There's nothing wrong with our English, you know that?
Yeah.
That's the Queen's English.
Yeah. Say to him, please, can you teach me the New Zealand English? He will say yes. But no, until now they didn't do anything.
Well, he's one of the worst. He's from the South Island.
New Zealand, it's hard to understand them because the language them it's strange, but it's very good English. You know, I like the accent, but it's very hard to understand them. And sometimes I say to them, please speak Arabic, or it's please can you speak better English with me because I don't know, I don't understand your English. And then I start smiling, laugh.
They're good people to work with.
Yes, very good people, and they respect much the people, and much Lebanese people. They like them normal because they respect all the people here, and you cannot imagine how the civilian people here they like all OGL.
OGL stands for Observer Group Lebanon, a branch of the UN's Truce Supervision Organization, set up to monitor an uneasy standoff between Israel and Lebanon. This is the most active place Kiwis serve, with 20 to 30 artillery shells, mortars or rockets fired to and fro most days. Roadside bombs triggered by sensors or even cell phones are a constant worry.
And they actually ring up the rock and it explodes. Sounds crazy, but it works. One of the more recent innovations has been to use passive infrared detectors on them, so there'll be just a little hole in the rock with a PIR detector, just like your security lights at home. And something goes past, breaks the beam, the rock explodes. So it's quite a devastating weapon. It's very hard to detect, as you can see, although these ones are showing a little bit worse the wear for having been destroyed. They just look like a rock, and there's a lot of rocks around here.
Outside the OPs, flak jackets are compulsory for all UN peacekeepers, who often find themselves smack in the middle of attack and counter-attack.
Okay, here we have a range of the ammunition types that we find around the observation post that have exploded.
There's quite a lot of traffic, obviously, right in or all around this position.
Yeah, a lot of traffic. I mean, the road...
there's another road up behind here,
Sure. That's a road up to an Israeli position. Yeah. We don't use that.
Yeah.
The main road through here is the main road in the security zone.
Right.
Okay, Paul, what we've got here is the hardened shelter.
Yeah.
All the OPs have this sort of arrangement. And basically what it's used for is if the situation dictates with any sort of hostilities, we'll come down here.
This is the rabbit hole.
This is, well, yeah, she's a bit more elaborate than a rabbit hole. It is used from time to time, but normally for about maybe a 20-minute period or something. 4 people in here would be fairly cosy, as you can see.
Fairly cosy after the 7th day, I would imagine.
In the summertime, also fairly hot. Here we've got the what we call the sleeping caravan, or accommodation. It's not really a caravan, it's certainly not mobile. Interestingly, it was, the plans for it were drawn up by Brett Manning, Kiwi guy who was here about 18 months ago, and he was an engineer in Jerusalem, and he did the calculations for the structural building, I think. So hopefully she'll hold it. Otherwise, we'll be taking a bit of grief for it. But yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good. Come on.
Even the dog kennel has a hardened roof.
Right, Paul, what we've got here is a 120mm mortar impact from a recent skirmish on the edges of this village, and it's already been investigated, this incident, because it occurred about a week ago. But some of the things I wanted to show you was the typical sort of damage you can expect from in the size of the crater. But also there are still a few fragments in here, such as there's a piece of the tail of the mortar. Right. Now normally we get complete tails, which make it easier to identify what's actually happened. But as I said, this one's already been investigated. The end result of this particular part of the skirmish was that one of the local horses was killed.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
And that's actually quite a significant thing to the people in these villages, because they're not particularly wealthy, certainly not by our standards. So a horse is a big investment for the family, and often the whole family will depend upon that horse for their livelihood.
Right. F-15 going through there. There it goes.
OP Lab, this is OP Hin, message over. Para 2 Alpha 1108 F-15. More to follow, over.
Paul not only has to learn new radio procedures, he has to brush up on his cooking skills. OP sites are self-catering, and cooking becomes quite competitive among team members who are on site for a week at a time. One benefit of long stints on OP is decent breaks at home with the family, just across the border in the Israeli town of Naharia.
Good to see you after a long time.
Hi, mate.
Hi.
How are you?
Got a cuddle for Dad, Sarah? There are times where I wish he wasn't away and home every night as a normal 9 to 5 job. But yeah, we work through it, and there's plenty of support from the UN.
Was Naharia what you expected it would be before you came?
No, it wasn't. I think it's better now I'm here. The town is small, and there's a beach, and things are easy to find, and I find it better.
It's quite a strange experience having Rose over in the mission area. It's been it's comforting to know that a lot of other UN families are here from other countries.
I think it's a good role for New Zealand. I think it's one that we can make a very positive impact. We seem to be able to relate to other people well, if only in the way that we can communicate and share a laugh, which is very important in a job like this. And there are a lot of opportunities for us to go over and make a difference to contribute towards peace in the world, without being overly dramatic about it. It's good. It's a good role for the military. It's not our only role, but it is a good role.
Ruana te whanua,